What's going on, you guys? It's Resto, and in today's video we're going to be going over the 19 Twink Paladin. In today's video we're going to be going over gear, the best in slot gear choices, as well as the alternatives until you guys are able to obtain those best in slots. We're also going to be going over talents, the typical builds that you guys are going to be using throughout your battleground experiences, and I'll also be covering some tips and tricks just to kind of help you guys make your PvP a little bit smoother and to benefit you guys. But without further ado, let's get right into this guide. Alright, you guys, welcome back to another guide on the 19 Twink Guide series. Today we focus on the 19 Paladin, the Paladini. If you main this as a 19 Twink, we are not friends. This is a very annoying class to go up against when it comes down to the Warzone of Gulch. They're a very good hybrid class though. They're very viable in every aspect, but there are many different ways to play a Paladin. The way I'm going to show you is kind of a way that I like to play overall. I'm going to show you guys a lot of different builds that you guys can utilize, not just a specific one. When it comes down to the DPS build, I don't really focus on pure strength and just being a warrior. If that's the case and how you want to play, literally get a warrior's gear and put it on your Paladin. That's literally all you got to do. The way I like to play Paladin is a little bit of best of both worlds, to where I'm putting out a good amount of DPS, but I'm also able to have enough spell power to heal myself. So it's kind of like a hybrid build if you really want to think about it. I like to be able to be efficient with a lot of the things that I do when I'm in a team fight. As a Paladin, you're able to provide a lot of utility to your team. You can provide freedom, which is very nice when it comes down to mid, especially for your FC. Being able to get him across mid is insane with freedom. There's a lot of slows that'll be happening. You know, you got warriors, you got mages, you got all kinds of nonsense coming at them, and being able to apply some of the utility that your Paladin can provide is very essential in a game. Definitely consider bringing one of these into your composition if you guys are ever doing any type of war games. You will not regret it at all. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the gear. The way I like to start this off is always saying that the lucky fishing hat and the PvP necklace and ring will always be your guys' must-have gets. However, with a Paladin, you don't really find the PvP ring in the scenario. You can if you want. Like I said, if you want to go do the DPS warrior build, go ahead and watch the other video on that. But other than that, we're doing a hybrid build. So with that being said, the lucky fishing hat is obtained every Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. Depending on your server, it can be very populated, very competitive. So it really just depends on, you know, where you are and how easy it is to get this. And what I mean by that is I personally fish on the beach. I really don't care to go anywhere else. I find the beach a little bit more efficient. I was able to get 2 lucky fishing hats in the same exact day on 2 different tunes. So, I mean, I'm just using the beach. I'm on Fairlina. Obviously, I have a good high pop server, so it is possible to still get, even if you're on a very competitive server. When it comes down to getting this ring, though, that's a different story. That just depends on where you are. I recommend doing this on an 80. That way, you're able to not get hit by mobs all the time, and you can actually focus on pools. So that's just my recommendation there. Moving on to the neck, we're looking at the Scout's Medallion, or you're looking at the Alliance version, the Sentinel's Medallion. So it really just depends on what faction you're on. This is super easy to get, guys. Should not be a hassle whatsoever, especially on a Warzone Gulch weekend. You guys can literally get this in the same game. Focus on objectives. Win the game, you guys will have no problem. Winning the game and focusing on objectives, you get way more honor than farming mid in graveyards. Does nothing, ruins games, etc. So go ahead, focus on those objectives, get that honor, and get those dubs, because that's what matters at the end of the day. Moving on to the shoulders, we're looking at the Stained Shadowcraft Spalders. The reason why we're going for this is more so for the hit. Same thing with the warrior, guys. You want to make sure you get a nice little hit cap going on for you. That way, you know, you're not missing any of your shots. You're able to actually land everything and move on efficiently. Moving on to the cloak, we're looking at the spider silk drape. We're going to put 3 agility on this because we're going for a hybrid build. We want to be able to maintain a good amount of DPS going out. With that being said, you guys can go with other enchants like the armor, resistance, shadow resistance, etc. But overall, me personally as a paladin, if you guys have ever seen these in battlegrounds, you'll know that all that doesn't really matter. Just go ahead and put 3 agility on here and you should be good to go. Moving on to the chest, with the Horde, we get to have the Inferno robe. Go ahead and throw 150 health on this, that way you have a good median balance. With that being said, every video that I do the characters raw. What that means is there's no buffs, no talents, nada. Just the raw gear that you guys get out in the world and the enchants. So that way you guys can see exactly what you're working with, and I can show you guys exactly what the tune is by itself. So with that being said, the Inferno robe is really nice because of the 19 spell power and the 150 health enchant that you can apply on it, because this specific chest allows that, whereas other chests don't. Moving on to the bracers, we're looking at the Cave Dweller bracers. We're going to go ahead and throw 15 spell power on there. We want to be able to increase some of the magnitude on our healing spells. This is a really nice bracer to have. It's a good even median balance between strength and stamina. Moving on to the gloves, we're looking at the Thorbia's gauntlets. You're gonna go ahead and put 16 spell power on here. Same thing as the Cave Dweller bracers, guys. You want to be able to have a good median balance between, your strength and your healing spells. A lot of the spells that you're going to be utilizing require holy power. A lot of spell power is going to be utilized, so we want to have a good median balance. That way we're able to be an all-around good DPS. Moving on to the belt, we're looking at the Cobran's Grasp. This is going to be obviously the only go-to belt as of right now in current Wrath of the Lich King, because this provides the highest amount of DPS possible. So we're going to go ahead and go with the Cobran's Grasp. Go ahead and grab this from the Wailing Caverns, guys. And then the belt, same thing, Wailing Caverns, the leggings of the Fang. These are all around a very good piece of pants, I guess you could say, to have. Go ahead and throw 16 armor on here. You can apply this yourself. It's only the 24 armor where you have to really focus on other characters applying that for you. With that being said, like a level 20 or higher, I always recommend having your own class. Moving on to the boots, we look at the Silver Link foot guards. We want to have a good medium balance of stamina and strength here. I'm literally going around for a whole well-rounded, balanced hybrid type DPS, where it's a good balance between everything, where you're still able to maintain survivability, but you're able to output a lot of DPS as well as a paladin. So this is going to be very valuable to use. Minor speed is what I would recommend as a paladin. You want to be very mobile. You could run stamina or a type of DPS enchant on your boots if you really wanted to. However, I don't recommend that whatsoever. I stick strictly to the minor speed. Usually with a lot of my DPS builds, I'm always having minor speed. I'd rather have a very mobile DPS than a stagnant kind of DPS high-end player, if that makes sense. So moving on to the rings, I'm focusing on a little bit of stamina here. So we're looking at the Dread Pirate Ring and the Seal of Sylvanas for the stamina, obviously. The Dread Pirate Ring for the hit. However, if you don't have a Dread Pirate Ring, no big deal. There's a couple of options that you can rock here. You can either go with a metal ring. You can go for like a hybrid of strength and stamina. You can even go with a blood ring if you want to go for more stamina. There's many different options that you can go with. Any ring will work. This is mainly here just for the hit, so you can use any ring that you want that you feel best fits possible into this slot. And then moving on to the trinkets is the dynamic duo here, the heirloom trinket for the resilience and your AGM for the stamina, and that nice second life or second chance, if I will, because this bubble is nuts. An alternative that you guys could utilize is either the spell power heirloom trinket or even the haste heirloom trinket. I recommend using the spell power one. That way you're increasing the magnitude of your spells. The haste is nice, don't get me wrong, but we're already in a nice little hybrid going here with the spell power. Might as well help increase it a little bit more until you're able to get that. With that being said, moving on to the weapons, we're looking at the Bloodied Arcanite Reaper with some Fury weapon on here. This is going to be your all-around good DPS to go with. However, you guys can also run the Crusader if you want as well as an enchant. Either or, doesn't matter, guys, as long as you're running one of the two. If you're a main wep, that's all that matters. And then the Alliance is very similar in gear, just slightly different on some of the pieces. We're obviously going with the faction specific items here. So with the Alliance, you guys, instead of running the Inferno Robe, obviously you guys don't have access to that, so you're going to run the Polished Breastplate of Valor. It's going to be a nice balance between strength and stamina with a little bit of crit. We're looking at the 4 all stats here on the chest. Same cloak, same shoulders, same bracers, all the same stuff until we get to the pants. We're looking at the Chassis of Westfall. These are going to be really nice to get, guys, because of the 11 strength. That is so nice to have. It's a great increase to your DPS, plus you have a nice little armor boost as well. So definitely go ahead and rock these. If you're Alliance, slap 16 armor on here. This comes from a quest, guys, nice little quest chain that you guys can do out of Westfall. So go ahead and snag these when you can. Moving on to the boots, same stuff. And then the rings, a little bit different. Instead of Seal of Sylvanas, you guys can rock the Seal of Rin. Alliance, I am extremely jealous of you guys because of this ring. It is such a beautiful ring all around. Also coming from a quest chain, go ahead and snag this when you can. And same thing with the Dread Pirate ring, guys. If you guys cannot snag this, you can put any ring you feel fit. Whether it's the lavishly jeweled ring, which is this, whether it's a blood ring, whether it's the PvP ring, whatever you feel fit to go in here, go ahead and put it in here. There is no wrong answer. It's a hybrid type build, so go ahead and put whatever you feel like you need more. Moving on to the Twink, same stuff, guys, same dynamic duo. Nothing's really changing here. You can even put a minor combobulator on here. Forgot to mention that as well. Comes from a profession, very, very accessible. So definitely get that if you guys cannot get an heirloom trinket at the moment. And then Alliance, once again, gifted with some special items. The Glacial Stone, you guys are going to rock this over the heirloom weapon. That blast is nuts, guys. It's a very proccable blast, and it procs very often, so you're going to use Fury weapon on top of it. It's kind of like a nice little elemental force from Mist of Pandaria. So you're going to go ahead and rock this for the Glacial Stone, and that's honestly what it really comes down to for the DPS build. And if you guys don't want to run Fury weapon, you can always run Crusader, or you could just get an heirloom weapon with Crusader. Either or, doesn't matter. Really depends on you what you guys want to do. I recommend running Fury weapon when it comes down to this specific weapon. When it comes down to the Holy build, Holy is a little bit different. We're swapping up a lot of the gear here. So Holy Paladins alone are just nice healers all around. They're nice single target healers. They have really chunky heals, very OP. I've seen somebody go from like 5-10% to 100% in one heal. It's nuts what the crit that a Holy Paladin can provide. That's what I'm saying. This class in general is just a powerhouse. But moving on to the shoulders, we're looking at the Mystical Pauldrons of Elements. This specific heirloom is really nice because of the MP5. A lot of the build that we're looking here is an MP5 build. This is going to be consistent. That way you guys are obviously able to maintain your mana as long as you possibly can, and just have a good regeneration rate, because as a Holy Paladin, you're going to be pumping non-stop, just like a priest. But as a Holy Paladin, you're way big of a single target healer than what a priest can be. I feel like a Holy Paladin is a lot better in heals in terms of a priest. Yes, priest has their pros, but I genuinely feel like Paladin trumps priest in my personal opinion, just because of the spells and the stuff they have to bring to the table. I feel like if priest didn't have the shield, really wouldn't be that useful. But the fact that they do have a shield, they make them very viable, very useful healers within the battleground. But moving on to the cloak, we're looking at the Spider Silk Stripe again, but with 70 armor. With this, you guys can swap it up with all resistance, shadow resistance, 70 armor, whatever you feel is best fit. Obviously, you're not doing DPS, so you guys want to be able to adapt to the people around you. You want to be able to compete on a good on a good standpoint to where you're not going to be, crippled a little bit. If you're going to rock a 70 armor against casters, it doesn't really do much for you. If you're going to run shadow resistance against a bunch of melee, it doesn't do really much for you. You want to be able to make sure you're matching it up just right. 70 armor for the melee, and then all resistance and shadow resistance for the warlocks and casters and all the stuff that you guys are going against. You guys can, adapt on the fly. Moving on to the chest, once again, the Infernal Robe, not much to this. And then for the bracers, the Crystalline Cuffs, you guys are going to put the MP5 enchant on here as well. It's going to keep you guys, once again, a good regeneration of mana. And then moving on to the weapon, we're looking at the heirloom weapon, the Devout Aura Stone. Throw 22 intellect on here. This here, we want to make sure we're prioritizing mana a little bit. We want a good mana pool. That way we have a lot of playroom with our spells. And then for the brace, or not the bracers, the shield, we're looking at the Forest Buckler. This is also going to have the Vitality enchant on here. That way you guys can have another MP5 with a little bit of health as well. So it's kind of like best of both worlds. Really nice all-around enchant to have for your MP5 build. Moving on to the gloves. Now, me personally, I like to be unique, like I mentioned in the other guides. I like to be different. I like things to stand out. So jute braid gloves for the Horde is my go-to. Have no fear, this is literally the same exact glove as the serpent gloves, guys. No different. The only difference is the name, the color, and the looks. That's all that's different. So if you guys don't want to go through a huge quest chain, go ahead and get serpent's gloves. It's going to be no different. You got to put 16 spell power here. Looks like I forgot to put an enchant. My bad. But yeah, you want to go ahead and put 16 spell power on this one. On the belt, we're looking at the girdle of the Blind Watcher. This is just an amazing build to have, guys. Or not build, but amazing belt to have. It's 7 stamina, 8 intellect. You honestly cannot go wrong with that. This belt is just amazing at overall balance between stamina and intellect. So you guys increase those pools a little bit. So definitely rock these. There's really no alternative for this. You go ahead and get this from Shadowfang Keep. Super simple to get. It's not really a low drop rate, so you guys should get it within like 3 runs max. If you spend longer, well, I'm sorry, your RNG is just probably not in your favor. Moving on to the pants, we're looking at the Dark Weave breeches. We're looking at 24 armor. These are bind to equipped, so go ahead and send these to a level 20 or higher. I always recommend doing these enchants yourself, guys. If you guys can do anything yourself, do it. Never let your friend or a stranger do it, because then you're risking a chance of error. Then you have to go and get new mats, etc. Or if they just want to be a turd and not want to, refund you for their mistake, there is that. So always do it yourself. That way, if there's a mistake, you can blame yourself and only yourself. Moving on to the boots. We're looking at the Spider Silk boots. Obviously, these are the best caster boots possible. Going to go and slap minor speed increase. Once again, like I said, I like to be a very mobile person when it comes down to healing, or just any type of paladin in general, because overall, man, you guys want to be able to kite and maneuver and be a very mobile person to get away from certain situations, or even catch up to a situation, right? Let's say you're healing somebody, but you're noticing your FC's in mid needs help. Well, you got minor speed increase to give you that slight boost to get to where you need to be. We don't have mounts, we don't have any of this other crazy nonsense like nitro boosts, so we have to rely on little things like this. So I recommend using the minor speed. However, if you don't want to utilize this speed increase, you can also put stamina on here instead to increase your health pool just a little bit. That's what I would recommend as an alternative enchant if you guys don't want to do minor speed increase. Completely up to you guys on what you want to do though. For the rings, we're looking at the PvP ring and the lavishly jeweled ring to increase our intellect pool. Not so much to hit, it's more so for the intellect. If you guys don't want to run the lavishly jeweled ring, there are other rings that you guys can run. Like I said, anything that you feel is best fit. Meadow rings, the blood ring, your seal of Sylvanas, whatever you want to run. Completely up to you. Even the Dread Pirate ring if you really want for some more hit. well, I should say some more hit, just one extra hit. But I mean, it really depends on to you guys what you guys want on here. The stamina and the hit combo, I mean, it's completely up to you and how you guys want to do this. But definitely have this as your main ring, and then this ring can be up to you. I recommend using the lavishly jeweled ring to have an increased mana pool. Obviously, your dynamic duo for your trinkets, you're looking at the heirloom trinket for the resilience, and then you're looking at the AGM for that massive health pool increase and the second life or second wind. That bubble is very clutch when it comes down to being able to need a second chance at life in the battleground. If you guys don't have an AGM right off the bat, go ahead and utilize the spell power Discerning Eye from the heirloom vendors. That is a good alternative for the Horde BiS, obviously. And then that is basically your Horde Holy BiS. Now, when it comes down to the Alliance, a little changes, not much. It's really just, you know, the faction specific items that change. So obviously use the factions PvP items, use the Serpent's gloves since you guys don't have access to Jute Braid. Same gloves, guys, like I said before, nothing really is different. Like 25 armor, 27 armor, so you're getting 2 extra armor, but it's the same exact stats. So definitely go ahead and rock one or the other. Completely up to you what you guys want to run. Obviously, if you're Alliance, you have no choice but to go with the Serpent's gloves. Everything else is relatively the same. Nothing really changes other than the chest. You're going to go with the Mystical Vest of Elements. Go ahead and throw 4 stats on this. That's pretty much all that really changes in comparison to the Horde and the Alliance. But now moving on to the FC. The FC builds are a little different. So with the FC build, for the Horde at least, we're looking at the stained Shadowcraft heirloom shoulders again, once again for the hit, not so much for everything else. And then we're looking at the 70 armor. Obviously, you want to make this adaptation to whatever you're going against, but you want to use the Spider Shield Drape for that. And then same thing, the Polished Breastplate of the Valor. So it's pretty much a DPS build. The only thing that's changing is obviously the Steel Class Bracers. We're putting 6 stamina, 9 stamina on here. This is going to be from a quest chain from the Horde side of things. And then for the weapons, we're looking at the Blessed Hammer of Grace for the resilience, the Dead Skull Shield coming from a long quest chain again, putting 7 stamina on here. We're looking to increase our mana pool a little bit. And then we're looking at the Defender Gauntlets of the Bear and the Fortified Belt of the Bear. This is going to be a good median between stamina and strength. You want to put 16 spell power on here to kind of help with the magnitude of your heals, so that way you can self-heal yourself and they aren't just little ticks, they actually heal you. Same thing with the pants. You're looking at the Grent's Laggard of the Eagle. We're looking to increase our intellect just a little bit. If you guys want to go with the strength, you guys can. I recommend having the Eagle. That way you have a nice increase in mana. You want to have some mana as an FC, guys. You don't want to be running all the time. So definitely go ahead and put some intellect on here. And then with the boots, you're going to go with the Savage Trotters. This is a nice 9 stamina that you guys can utilize for your FC build. Nothing else really compares to this. Minor speed increase, obviously, but like I said before, if you guys don't care about mobility, you don't want to maneuver as quick, get to point A to point B faster, go ahead and put 7 stamina on here, even bump it up even more. That's something that you guys can utilize as well. Moving on to the rings, we're looking at the Seal of Sylvanas and the Dread Pirate Ring, obviously for the hit. But if you guys don't have access to a Dread Pirate Ring or don't even want to run a Dread Pirate Ring, go ahead and put on a Blood Ring. A Blood Ring will be just as well, or you can even put on the PvP Ring to help increase some spell power a little bit. But those are the 2 alternatives that I would choose for this. I wouldn't really have any other alternative for the Dread Pirate Ring if you guys don't want to run this, or if you guys just don't have it. And then obviously the dynamic duo, you know, the heirloom trinket and the AGM. The the Alliance FC build is a little bit different. I got so many builds to go over here. It's not really much of a change other than the fact that you're changing up the faction specific items. So Blood Ring instead of Seal of Sylvanas, and then if you don't want to run the Dread Pirate Ring, you can run the Seal of Rin. There's really no alternative for that. It's one or the other that I would use for the FC. It's not like the Horde has access to an amazing ring like this. So completely up to you guys on how you want to run those rings. One or the other is what I would do though. Same thing, everything is looking the same. Obviously for the pants, you guys are going to run 11 strength. You guys do want to have, as a alliance player, the strength prioritized because you guys can choose the Seal of Rin. That's why I'm saying you guys have the option between one or the other, because this replaces the intellect on the pants. So it's going to be a little different, if that makes sense. So the only thing that's really changing are those two slots. So everything else is relatively the same. However, if you don't want to have a DPS build, you can also have a Holy FC build. So what I mean by that is the FC build that you design can be spec'd around healing, so that way you're able to prioritize healing, or you can be a DPS FC and prioritize, you know, being able to fend for yourself rather than heal for yourself. You know, it really just depends on what you want to do, similar to how a Druid FC works, right? There are two different types of builds to be an FC, where one, you can run around as a self-sustainable healer and be able to maintain a good amount of durability for FCing. And then there's another FC build where it's specifically strictly for FCing, not really healing. It's just a lot of durability. So think of it like this for the Paladins, right? Are you by yourself a lot? Or are you able to maintain a lot? That's what it comes down to. So for the Holy FC, what you're looking at is the Mystical Pauldrons. This is the Horde side, by the way. You're looking at the Mystical Vest of Elements with the 100 health, and then you're looking at the Spider Silk Drape with 70 armor, and then you guys are looking at the fortified bracers of the Eagle. This is a really nice balance between stamina and intellect with the 15 spell power on this. Very nice all-around bracers for the good balance. And then for the gloves and the brace, or the belt, you're looking at the Defender's Gauntlets of the Eagle with 16 spell power, and then the girdle, the Blind Watcher. Like I said, this belt is just nuts with the amount of stamina, so you obviously would want to run this for your Holy build and a Holy FC build. And then for your pants, you're looking at the Grunt's Leggers of the Eagle. It's a really nice balance between stamina and intellect. It is bind to equip, so go ahead and put 24 armor on here. It's just pretty similar to the Scouting gloves of the Eagle, or Scouting Leggers of the Eagle that the Druids wear. So this is a really nice pants to have. And then obviously the Spider Silk boots with minor speed increase, or the 7 stamina, whichever you guys want to prioritize more. And then you guys want to rock the Advisor ring and the lavishly jeweled ring. Now for the Holy FC build, this combo I do recommend. This is something that I would 100% run. However, you guys could run the Blood Ring or the Seal of Sylvanas, whether you're Horde or Alliance. That is something that you guys can run as well if you guys want stamina more. I don't recommend doing that. I recommend keeping this combo and not using any alternative, because you want a good health pool and you want a good mana pool, right? If you have a good balance between the both, you're going to be a really good FC as a Holy FC. And then obviously the dynamic duo. For the weapon, you guys are looking at the Devout Hour Stone with a 22 intellect. This is going to increase your intellect even more. This, I wouldn't recommend this just because it doesn't have the stamina and the intellect. Well, it does have the stamina, but not so much the intellect. They both provide a good amount of bonuses. So you could run this for the spirit like I have here, right? You could have a spirit combo if you really want to, and then use the Arctic Buckler with the mana regen if you guys want to use this as an offset. I mean, that is something that you guys can do for an MP5 build to kind of regenerate health and mana on the run, or if you're just trying to regenerate and then slop into this slet, that way you can not have to eat and drink as much. And then for the shield, you're looking at the Dead Skull shield with 7 stamina. Once again, we're just looking to increase our health pool a little bit, make sure we have that good even balance as a Holy FC. Now, when it comes down to different types of builds, we're looking at different weapons at the same time. So like, let's say you guys don't want to run the Devout Hour Stone as a Holy, right? As like a Holy Paladin, not a Holy FC, but like a Holy Paladin. You guys can run this instead and throw 30 spell power on there, increase the magnitude. But if you guys care about intellect more and you want more of an intel pool, then I would run the Devout Hour Stone hammer with the 22 intellect. Now, same thing with the FC set. So if you're like a DPS FC, right, you could run the Shadow Fang with life stealing and then have the Redbeard Crest for the strength and then have 10 shield blocking. Think of it like the warriors, right? When you're a warrior, you're going to be targeted a lot, right? You're going to have a lot of people coming at you, etc. The same thing as a paladin. Well, you can swap into this little combo right here to mitigate some of the damage with the shield blocking, but more importantly, the Shadow Fang is going to have life stealing, so it's going to be putting out some DPS as well because of the Shadow Bolt procs, etc. But the life stealing is going to help with the Shadow Bolt procs, and it's going to help you get more health regenerated to you on a more of a passive rate, if that makes sense. So there's different options that you guys can choose. Obviously, I recommend having all of these. Even with the Arctic Buckler, being able to have, you know, the MP5 build on here, it's super nice. It's super nice to be able to maintain. You could even have a MP5 shield on, like, you know, let's say the Alliance FC. All right, let's go to this. 7 stamina on your gold buckler, but you could have the Arctic Buckler and throw this on here instead. Yes, you're sacrificing a little bit of stamina, but you're going to have all these resistances on here. So this is kind of like a way to utilize the FC build because you have a little bit of resistance, but you have some MP5 as well. But there's a different chance that you guys could use instead of the MP5. If you don't want to use the Vitality build, you could put stamina on here as well. This could be also a very good shield to have, just to have extra resistances. You are getting more armor on the shield. This is mainly utilized for the stamina. So if you guys don't care about the 2 extra stamina for Alliance, you cannot use this and throw this on instead. Take away 2 stamina, so it's about 20 health points, and then you'll have extra spirit and frost resistance, more armor, and then you have more stamina if you don't want to use the Vitality enchant like I mentioned before. Completely up to you guys on how you guys want to use that. Just letting you know there is a variety, and you do have a lot of choice with like what your gear is looking like. With the build for the Alliance FC, nothing really changes other than the faction specific items. Everybody can wear the same stuff. There's no specific piece of gear that's on one faction other than the Dead Skull shield, obviously. But when it comes down to this, you know, you guys are all using the same stuff. It's not really any different. So that's what's really nice about Paladins, is there's not really many faction specific items. You know, it's all around the same stuff. Everybody's rocking the same things. You don't really have to, you know, go out of your way to go and get, you know, these extra quest chains to obtain your gear. A lot of the stuff can be bought or made. Some of it drops from dungeons, but yeah, Paladins are super easy to gear. It's all of it's bought, so it's really nice. But other than that, that is pretty much all there is to a Paladin. There is a lot to it, as you guys can see. There's a lot of different variations in terms of the pieces that you guys can wear, but that is it. Moving on to the professions. Obviously, the herbalism is what I would recommend utilizing no matter what. Lifeblood just is unmatched, guys. It is insane with the amount of healing that you guys can get out of this. This is a really nice thing to have. Definitely rank up your herbalism to obtain Lifeblood rank 3. Super easy to level it up. I did it myself on my druid, so you guys can do it too. Shouldn't be too hard. For the secondary profession, I personally would run a run with skinning to obtain the Master of Anatomy 9 crit. Boosting up your crit as a paladin is big because the main crits that you want to have are from your heals. You want to have nice healing crits, so having 9 crit and a bonus is really nice. If you guys don't care about crit, which I recommend that you do, you could run mining for the extra stamina. I don't really recommend that. I would recommend going with skinning. That way you guys have a nice boost to your healing spells. Not so much the DPS spells. I'm looking, in my mind, is more towards the critting on my holy spells. So being able to have nice, good healing crits to get myself to full. Because like I said, you can literally heal yourself from like 5 to 10% to 100% health with a single holy spell. It is nuts. So definitely want to run with crit. And that would be completing your guys' build. So like I said, that's pretty much all there is to a paladin. We're going to go ahead and move on to the talents and kind of discuss the builds there. All right, so with the talents on the paladin, there really isn't that many to choose from. There are 3 builds that I think are worth mentioning that I would like to share with you guys though. The first one being this one. So this one is mainly like your go-to all-around general build for a Paladin, right? For everything and anything. I have Divine Strength into 5, so this is increasing your total strength by 15%. So obviously this is where the DPS build's going to come into. That's not involving the Holy Power, or not the Holy Power, the Holy spec. Then you take 2 minutes off of your bubble, and then you got 4 seconds extra on your Hand of Freedom. So Freedom and lower bop. Huge. So when it comes down to this is really nice to have. It's just having more time for bot to be used, and then a longer duration for your freedom to be up for your FC or yourself as an FC. Overall, general good talents to have. And then you have this one going into reducing the stun effect by additional 30%, and it also reduces the chance of things being dispelled by 30%. So this is similar to Subtlety on a Druid. It's very nice to have. The only thing it is, it's like a combination of the Orc Racial in later expansions, and then a mixture of Subtlety on the Druid spell tree. So this is really a nice build to have all around, like I said, for a general Paladin. If you guys are rocking the Holy side of things and not so much the Strength side of things, literally all you got to do is take the 5 out of Divine Strength and put the 5 into here. Same thing. So all this is doing is increasing all healing done to you in done by you and all healing effects on you by 5%. So you're essentially increasing the healing being done, the amount of heals on you as well, coming from your holy spell, your spell power build for your FC, or just in general as a holy paladin itself. Now these are, I shouldn't say these, actually this is one of the builds that you can run whether you're strength or intellect. Another build that's worth mentioning is you could actually put all 5 into divinity, right? And then I prefer going into spiritual focus rather than seals of the pure, because there's really no use for this. This is more so for a holy paladin. If you're strictly just going to be a holy paladin, you could put 5 into divinity and 5 into spiritual focus. Now, so this is one of the builds that you could run, or you could take 5 into here, put 3 into heavenly light, right? And then put the rest into divine intellect and increasing your intellect by 4%. So that is also an option that you can run. Let's say you don't want to run divine intellect. You can put the 2 into divinity, right? So that's increasing all healing done to you and all healing effects on you by 2%, which is really nice. This one right here, healing light, is increasing the amount healed by your holy light, flash of light, and the effectiveness of shock by 12%, which is really nice, especially if you're going strictly just as a holy paladin. So this is one of the builds that I really recommend. There's a bunch of other things that you can run if you want to experiment with, but they're not as effective as what I just mentioned right there. You can even play around with how these are distributed, right? So you can have 2 into here and 3 into here, increase your intellect by 3%, or you could just keep it at 12%. I recommend keeping this here because the increasing the amount of done to you by 2% is just adding on to healing light. So technically it's like a 14% if you really want to think about it. But this is a really good build to have as a holy paladin. In terms of DPS, I mean, these, like I said, this is what I would recommend. If you want to go into like the warrior builds, right, like I was mentioning before, what you could do as well is put 5 into divine strength. And what this build is going to encourage is it's going to encourage a combination hybrid of defensiveness and a lot of DPS. So divine strength and then the rest into deflection, which is going to increase your parry chance by a total of 5%. This is also a very good build to run as well if you just want to be somebody who's going to be parrying a lot of the stuff, etc. Going into the prot side of things, there's really not much here worth really going into. I mean, yeah, you can put 5 into deflection and then put the rest into benediction if you really wanted to, but this is honestly a really bad build, guys. I don't recommend this at all because there's not really a lot of insta-cast spells as a paladin that you could be really using all the time. So this right here isn't really a good build, but this, on the other hand, this is. So those are some of the builds that I recommend that you guys could check out and you guys could utilize, something that's worth going over. But moving on to the glyphs, the minor glyph of Lay on Hands is the only minor glyph you guys really should be running. Reduces the cooldown of your Lay on Hands spell by 5 minutes. There is no alternative. You guys need to have this as a minor, right? Reducing that by 5 minutes is absolutely huge. There's really no other minor glyph that's worth having. There are other options, but this is the only one that you guys should be running as a 19 because this spell is huge. And then moving on to the major glyphs. So this right here is situational depending on whether or not you're wanting to go DPS or healing. I have two major glyphs for each. If you're going for a strength build, a little bit of hybrid, right? You want a DPS, you want a FC as DPS, etc. All the other fun stuff, go Glyph of the Judgment. Your Judgment deals 10% more damage. Now, if you're looking at just healing and you just want to be a Holy Paladin, you just want to be a support player, then go with Glyph of the Holy Light. This is going to grant 10% of its heal amount up to 5 friendly targets within 8 yards of the initial target. This is absolutely massive, guys. It's like Beam of Light on retail, right? If you put it on one person, it heals people, it heals you. It can also heal people around. This is a very all-around good glyph to have as a Holy Paladin because you're healing your other teammates at the cost of one spell. This is nuts. So definitely go with this if you're just specifically going to be a Holy Paladin. And then if you're going to be an all-around Paladin, best of both worlds, then go with the Judgment. Increases the Judgment damage by 10%. So these are the two glyphs that I would recommend going for. There are other glyphs that are like worth having fun with, but in terms of like we're looking at best in slot, these two right here, hands down, are going to be the ones that you guys want to go with. No questions asked. But other than that, guys, that is the end of the Paladin guide. I hope you guys learned something new today. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and let me know down below. I do all the classes, so if you guys haven't seen the others and you're curious about that, definitely can go check those out. Definitely doing all the classes within this series. So other than that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys give it a like. If you really like to give it a favorite, commenting is free, as well as subscribing. It's been Resto, guys. See you guys next time.